Every real estate transaction abroad can result in significant gains or losses simply by the fluctuation of the dollar against their local currency. It is a mathematical study. It is something that you need to be very aware of, learn how to use spreadsheets, be able to watch. The timing of the market is important. We have international investors that invest here in the US that watch the market dollar so they can essentially purchase the exact same property with less money from their country because of the way the market fluctuates. It's an interesting anomaly that you don't deal with when you're a US citizen buying US properties. Something you definitely want to pay attention to. Political stability is something that is obviously on the mindset of every American today. But investing in physical assets outside of the US, particularly, may expose you to some political risk. These are known as geopolitical anomalies. The last thing I would want is for you to suffer damages or losses to your property because it's located in a country with an unstable economy or changes politically inside of that country that's going to devalue your property itself. Or worse, you won't have, if you're relying on a level of tourism versus local renters, that might get canceled altogether depending on their relationship with your country. And then property management. For those of you that are looking to buy in foreign countries and manage these properties, you must understand that effective management will make or break the success of this purchase. You need to consider how you're going to manage it from afar, tenant relations, the tenant laws inside of that country, what maintenance requirements are there, and how you stay in legal compliance. As a foreign investor, they're going to watch you a lot closer than they are their own locals. So then let's talk about in some of the differences in property rights internationally. Understanding worldwide property rights is going to be essential. Whenever you're searching for international real estate opportunities, it's not just going to be about knowing, but also researching the laws that govern private property, especially for non-citizens. This is going to be critical. It's going to help you determine what you're buying. For instance, some countries allow foreign property ownership, but there may be limits on the type of location or the properties that are available for you to purchase as an international investor. Several countries require foreigners to obtain special permitting, undergo additional legal procedure. It's going to be vital that you're able to consult with qualified real estate professionals in that country and legal advisors that are familiar with the specific country's laws. Some examples for the top of your head. Let's talk about the Philippines. In the Philippines, foreigners cannot own land. They can own a residence, such as a condominium, even a complex, but provided a Filipino citizen or companies must own 60% of the building or the project that you're investing in. Let's talk about the United Kingdom. A significant portion of real estate that is sold as a leasehold in the UK. This implies that your buyer is going to own the property, not the land that it's built on, and the lease is going to be valid for a specific amount of time. And you'll never have ownership for the land ever. Once these leases expire, ownership of the property returns back to the landowner. So in the US, most real estate is sold as freehold. This grants permanent ownership of the land and its buildings. And then Mexico, one of our very close borders. Foreigners are not allowed to own land within 100 kilometers of the Mexican border, period. 50 kilometers of the coast. So that's giving you central Mexico only, where you have an opportunity for ownership. You can invest in non-residential property by holding a property through a trust that's held by a Mexican bank or a Mexican corporation, but ultimately you don't have the full civil rights or the ownership rights that you would normally expect in the US in the country of Mexico at all. Tax implications for international real estate investors. For US citizens who purchase real estate in a foreign country, it is very important for you to be aware the tax implications that are going to come with it. You're going to be required to pay property taxes and capital gains taxes in the foreign country where the property is located. And then you have to report any foreign property that you own inside of your U.S. tax return. This may also be subject to the Foreign Account and Tax Compliance Act, FACTA. These requirements are for individual taxpayers that hold financial assets outside of the U.S., must be reported to the IRS generally using a Form 8938. This is a statement of foreign asset. And an aggregate value of these assets must exceed, will typically exceed $50,000 or more to be reportable in general. But in some cases, the threshold might even be higher. The 8938 form needs to be attached to your annual tax return so they see how long you own this investment internationally. U.S. taxpayers who do not have to file an income tax return during the year do not have to file that. They still have to file that form, the 8938, regardless of the value. So even though you're of the age or you're not employed in a situation where you're filing a traditional U.S. tax return, you still have to file your international holdings with the U.S. government. You might even have to file a FinCEN form, a 114, that reports to foreign banks and foreign interest accounts internationally. There's plenty of tables out there on the internet. You can Google what are the minimum requirements to do that. But ultimately, what you need to remember is failure to do these forms could result in a penalty of upwards of $10,000. Underpayment of tax attributing in foreign assets could be penalties upwards of 40% of the value, and criminal penalties in most of these places too. So if you want to avoid any of those changes in your tax obligation, absolutely consult with a tax professional. Your accountant must be fully aware of these types of international strategies. And if they have not dealt with them before, you do not want them learning on your nickel. We talked a little bit about the effects of foreign currency and exchange rates. Those changes can greatly impact the profits or the expenses involved in owning a property in a foreign country. The exchanges between home currency and foreign currencies will influence the initial purchase price, the maintenance expenses, the taxes you will pay as an owner, and the profit that you're going to make from selling or renting the property. A stronger home currency is going to make the investment more affordable, but the value of the home currency drops against the foreign currency, your expenses are going to increase. So it's just important for you to understand the country that you're making your money in, how you're transitioning it for your maintenance or your purchase cost. And that same, you're spending $30 today might give you more or less in the country that you're purchasing from on the day of purchase. So just be aware. Ways of financing those investments. I keyed in on it at the very beginning of our conversation today. If you have set your sights on investing in real estate abroad and are not going to do this as cash, it is very important that you understand what the financial objectives are and how you're trying to accomplish your investment, how you're trying to turn profit, and what the most widely methods are to finance overseas. Cash is obviously the easiest. It does speed up the process of buying a home. Sometimes will result in some cost savings internationally. You've heard the phrase cash is king. And in countries where there are large fluctuations of the dollar, they may be willing to do business in the US dollar so they can capitalize on making more money post you actually purchasing the property directly for them. So things that other advantages that buying cash would give you. Philippines, I love going to this example. In Philippines, cash eliminates foreclosure, interest payments, credit checks. It allows immediate ownership in the country of the Philippines and faster title acquisition. If you're planning on going a step farther and getting additional rights or citizenships or visas or things in that country, this will allow you to have a deed of absolute sale upon the full payoff of a property. So that will fast track all of that type of paperwork if that's the direction you're looking to lean in for retirement as well. International mortgage lenders, I mentioned, working with a lender from the country you plan to invest in. This is advantageous. They are usually more knowledgeable about the mortgage market there and the home buying laws. They might even offer you better deals and lower interest rates. However, there are also risks. um, such as potentially paying a higher mortgage rate. Foreign lenders have specific rules for non citizen homebuyers. Their income requirements may be very different. Residency rights or proof of sponsorship may be requirements. You will have different legal obligations and hoops that you have to jump through depending on the lender that you choose in a foreign country. Make sure it is a reputable and protected lender. Last thing you want to do is invest through a very loose loophole lender to obtain the property faster, only to find that you don't have the proper paperwork recorded in the country that you're buying in. Developer loans are also very popular in foreign countries. If you want to invest in a property while it's being built or before it's built, developer loans might be very suitable for you. These can assist you with the financing of these homes, home sites, lots, properties still under development, the additional infrastructures that you may require due to how you grew up in the country of your upbringing versus where it's being built. Additionally, loans like this with developers don't have an age restriction. So life insurance requirements and things like that aren't necessarily an obligation either. In some cases, you can obtain an interest-free finance through a developer. So you definitely want to do your research. Even here in the United States,